Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I continually search for new wisdom and new ideas from exceedingly questionable sources. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a fresh pepper jack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday, if that matters. Another day that ends in Y. Well, I hadn't technically planned on it, but I suppose given circumstances currently in process around the world, this particular talk will be somewhat timely, somewhat poignant, somewhat relevant. I can think of some other words and adjectives that might apply, but you get what I mean. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, say hello to all of you that have decided to come out and join me today. All you need, hello, point curation before the stream, thank you so much. Signaling one's own virtue devalues that virtue. Someone who brags about charity isn't charitable, they've just exchanged money/time for recognition. 'Tis true. I just want to note that given the little thing I cooked up for the thumbnail, I don't know what this guy's going to talk about, but he's got a shirt on that says "Got Land," like the old Got Milk logo, and I mean, maybe it's a safe assumption as to what we're going to hear. I don't know. I could be wrong. So if the thumbnail ends up being ironic, well, that was the plan the whole time. 2002 Chrysler PT Cruiser Woody, hello. Pink Hollow the Driving Ape Man, hello. Keeverdam, hello. That One Servant of Satania, hello. Asian Hippie, hello. Tarkata, hello. Corey Suzuki, hello. Jim Beam, hello. Eric Grunstadter, hello. Decode, hello. Non-Vitae Rex, hello. Frosted Glass, hello. Another Monotream, hello. Prosaic, Jesus. Prosaic Dreams in Blue. I can read Hacksaw, it's just been a long time. Hello, Zauble, hello. Graf Spree, hello. Johnny Hellcat, hello. Dark Isle, hello. Heroic Nico, hello. Anna Clark, hello. Average Apathetic American, hello. Mad Ann Flint, hello. That sounds like a pirate name or an old West like gunslinger or something. Byron King, hello. Reject, hello. Oh boy. Delta the Traveler, hello. You're Ridiculous Lunatic, hello. Luke Skywalker 2, hello. Thrashy, hello. Twisted Skipster, hello. Oh boy. Okay. So many people. Spittle Buggies, hello. Oh. So many. Yes, as Asian Hippie said, if you do like what I do, I would appreciate a like button hit. That sounds kind of odd, but is what it is. So what are we looking at today? Well, the official title of this presentation is Facing Racism, What You Can Do to Fight Injustice. Facing Racism, What You Can Do to Fight Injustice. I want to know what I can do to fight injustice. I really do. I would love to know what I can do to fight injustice. I mean, usually I think it's something to the effect of do not commit any injustices yourself, or at least do your best. You know, there are some inadvertent things that can happen in life that might be conceived of as injustices to another person, but, you know, do unto others the golden rule. It's not a perfect rule, but it's a pretty good one to live by. But beyond that, I suppose we'll find out today what we can do to fight injustice. So per usual, guys, I'll play the first few seconds. Tell me if you can hear what I hear. Do you hear what I hear? And then we'll proceed. So everyone, let us begin.
Bonjour and hello.
Bonjour and hello. Uh-oh. Now, I know this is done in English. I hope he's not going to, like, dual-lingual it the whole time. I did at least verify that before I process the audio. Sounds good, says Asian Hippie. Aloysius Fudpucker says it sounds good. Pissed Off Shih Tzu, hello. All right, guys. So, yeah, let's hope this isn't a double-lingual presentation, or else it's going to be tough without subtitles, because I don't speak, I presume, French. That's me being a solid Westerner.
Let me try that again. Bonjour and hello. All right.
Okay, so you got a really excited audience here. All right.
I'll make sure we're here together.
Yes.
My name is Dan Gannon.
Hi, Dan.
And I'm a lucky man.
Are you? Is it that hat? Tell me that's your lucky hat. That would make me happy.
Primarily because I'm a white man.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, he hasn't said white privilege yet, or privilege. But I'm circling in the free space. By the way, guys, I forgot to mention, if you don't have your bingo card ready, you can find a link in the description to the image for the bingo card. Follow along, circle as you will. At the end of the show, I will review my selections and take arguments for those either for and against, because that is how democracy works in my private dictatorship on the moon.
Living in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
That carries the weight of getting to start on the normal line every single day of my life.
Okay, like I said, he hasn't said the word privilege yet, but it's strongly implied. If he doesn't get there by the end of the presentation, I'm going to circle it regardless.
My skin color reps normal values, normal behaviors, normal attitudes.
Your skin color reps normal behaviors, normal attitudes. Okay, well, if you say so, dear speaker.
But I'm also a lucky man because ever since I was a little kid, my family told me I was Irish. I knew I was Irish before I knew I was white.
Okay. Well, I guess family heritage or, ethnic heritage, sure. Irish. Huh. Irish and white. I can only imagine where this is going.
This man behind me is my great-grandfather, John Byrne.
Did you inherit his hat?
He was a blacksmith in the village of Feathered in County Tipperary in Ireland. And he supported the struggle against the British Army and British government, which had been occupying and colonizing Ireland for centuries.
Wait, a white empire was subjugating a white population? You must be joking.
In due part to that support of the struggle, his family was forced to leave Ireland piece by piece, and they immigrated to Chicago.
Okay.
I've had an idea in my head ever since I was small that fighting oppression is a good thing and supporting immigrants seeking a better life as well, because that's my family.
Well, in spirit, sure. Seeking a better life, etc. However, we have laws that have developed since your great-grandfather's time. Laws and policies and a whole bunch of other things. So if you're coming here legally to seek a better life, great. If you're coming here illegally to quote-unquote seek a better life, that's not how it works. At least now we're talking in an economic sense. I mean, if you're fleeing a war zone or something for a safer place, that's different. I just want to make that clear.
Those values and concepts remain a key part of who I am today.
Okay.
Especially as a white man.
Especially as a white man. Why is that?
I was born on the south side of Chicago, and to be proud of being Irish or Irish American there is as easy as brushing your teeth.
Okay. So you weren't discriminated against for being Irish. Well, that's good. Was there ever a time where being Irish was looked down upon? And by any particular, I don't know, racial demographic?
But to bring up the issue or challenge a discussion around racism, especially back then, unfortunately, was all too rare.
Isn't that a good thing, or I don't know?
In fact, within my own family, racism was openly championed by my father, my uncles, my grandfather.
So people from a different era, different time had different sensibilities. Or even if you're not from a different era or different time, nobody's perfect today, but okay, so the male members of your family were racist. I'll take your word for it.
To hear open racial slurs at our family gatherings was as expected as having turkey on Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving? Oh, was that a Freudian slip, or wasn't it? You guys be the judge. Well, we have childhood or family anecdote, so that's certainly true. Let's see. Plays victim. Not yet, technically. Microaggression, no. Systemic, no. Attempt to coin a new buzz phrase, no. Equity, yeah, well, he hasn't said the word privilege yet, but like I say, the preponderance of the evidence may take us there. Okay, moving on.
And so I couldn't help but ingest that poison over the years and the many gatherings as a young person. But there was always a small voice in the back of my head that was confused and doubting those messages of hate because of our family's history of fighting back against the British Army.
Okay, so generally speaking, diminishing people on the basis of their ethnicity or their skin color is a bad thing. Well, I completely agree. Good for you. And me, I guess.
And occasionally I would hear my mom tell my dad to be quiet when he said something racist in the house in front of us.
Okay, so it wasn't a complete family, green light to the mindset. Okay.
And so she became my first ever anti-racist role model.
All right.
Thank you, Mom. I love you so.
Yeah. Okay, I'm circling now gratuitous pausing for effect. A couple of times I thought it was just him gathering his thoughts, but now it sounds a little overdramatic. Gratuitous pausing for effect.
As I grew into my teens, the idea of contradicting or confronting either my dad or my grandfather was more or less out of the question. It was just too scary. I was terrified.
And honestly, short of them actually taking physical actions to express their racism, what would be the point? I mean, and I know maybe that's a cynical outlook on things. When you have someone who is an elder to you, especially like a grandfather or great-grandfather or something like that, who grew up in a completely different time with a completely different mindset, having arguments about trying to change their brains on something that they just think, and maybe it's abhorrent thoughts, maybe they're abhorrent viewpoints. I can't argue with that, but is it really productive? I don't know.
And when I think of fear, I know how it can often protect us. I get it.
Okay.
But it can also paralyze us.
Yeah.
And unnecessarily and unfairly separate us from those who we view as different.
Okay, so did you have a argument or rap session with your father and grandfather about changing their minds on race? How did that go?
As white people, we need to be unafraid when issues of racism arise.
Why? Why do we as white people need to be unafraid? Why can't we as just people be unafraid? What's it got to do with skin color?
Because doing the right thing should not be a choice.
It should not be a choice. So you want to remove choice from you. And of course, it depends on how you define the right thing. So is this a right side of history kind of argument? I mean, I don't disagree with, opposing racism if it's being actively pursued or promoted or anything else. I wouldn't imagine doing commentary on TEDx talks like this has anything to do with that. But you want to remove choice? Okay.
I'll say that again. Doing the right thing should not be viewed as a choice.
Why did you say it again? Why are you doing repetition? Why are you trying to drill it into people's heads?
Because it's just what we do because we care.
Well, again, and I mean this in the broadest sense, it all depends on what you define as, quote unquote, the right thing to do, and then whether or not you're going to hold someone to account for disagreeing with you. But you haven't brought up any specific actions yet, so I'm not quite sure what I would or would not be, what I would or would not be assessing. Yes, that's what I was looking for, as a right action.
We care. So it came time for me to do the right thing.
Okay.
And I was going to stand up to my grandpa the next time I heard him say something racist.
Oh boy, you're gonna just go after an old man. All right. Tell us how that went. Tell us what you did. This part of the conversation has a lot of similarities to one of the very first. In fact, I think the very first TEDx I ever did with John Eckloff, because he talked about similar experiences in having to be around someone who he perceived as racist and evil and wanted to confront. If you want to know about that situation, you can go into the playlist on my channel called TEDXcellence and go to the very first set of videos, back when I can only do 15 minutes at a shot for a video. I'm still very proud of that very first TEDx. I think it's one of my best videos, honestly.
The rebellious sounds and attitudes of punk rock had created a major shift within me.
What punk rock? Okay, so punk rock inspired you to confront your grandfather about racism? All right.
As I learned of bands and movements that oppose racism.
Uh-huh.
I'm also the oldest grandchild of a very, very, very big family.
Okay.
And I felt a certain responsibility to my baby brother Matthew, who's 13 years my younger.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't want him growing up hearing the same racial slurs that my sisters and I had.
Okay, so you took it upon yourself to right the wrongs of at least 2 generations in your own family. All right, no, I get it. I get your motivation. I get your intention. What did you do, and how did it go?
And so our family was gathering in Milwaukee for my sister Laura's college graduation. And I let my mom know that if I heard anything racist out of Grandpa's mouth, I was going to push back.
Oh, push back, huh? All right, well, again. So you're at a celebration for your sister's graduation, and you pre-planned the intention to push back at Grandpa if he said anything racist at your sister's graduation. All right?
I was ready. It was time.
Mm-hmm.
So on our way to dinner that night, my grandfather, proud Irishman and union organizer from the south side of Chicago via County Tipperary.
So he was a blue-collar, working-class individual. And he was white. So I'm sure that everything was just handed to him because he was white, obviously. He was living on easy mode, right? As a blue-collar union member who immigrated from another country, right?
Let fly with a vicious string
No.
of racial obscenities.
Ooh, are you going to tell us what they were, or at least the context of why they were issued? I'd love to know. I'd love to have some context. Because if you don't give me some context, I have a square I have to circle.
All the while staring me down.
Wait. He was looking straight at you while he was saying racial epithets? I gotta back up just a second or 3 here for a second because I almost cut him off. But okay, why was he staring at you?
All the while staring me down.
Yeah.
Smiling and chuckling away.
Okay.
Putting me in my place.
Putting you in your place while he was saying racially charged words? I'm circling leaves out vital context. I mean, I may take that back if he gives us some more details, but so far, not very good.
I felt intimidated.
Oh.
Shocked. Humiliated.
Oh.
Embarrassed.
Oh.
I remained silent.
Yeah.
It was an epic fail.
This is almost exactly the story that John Eckloff told in my very first TEDx videos. I'm not even kidding. Not exactly the same situation, but yeah, this is very bizarre.
But
you failed. You were so intent on confronting racism that you lost your nerve in the moment that you had told your mother you were not going to lose your nerve in. And now there's a but. I see some people putting X to doubt in the chat over this anecdote. You know, I'm going to give it to him for now. He may bring up another one later, but it's not often that you relay an anecdote where you weren't the hero unless it has a ring of truth to it. So I'm going to let it go. I believe that he backed down in front of his own grandfather and trying to start a fight at his sister's graduation party.
My mother and my grandmother quickly spoke up and loudly chided my grandfather, telling him to shut his mouth and be quiet.
So your mother and your grandmother were braver than you. Huh. All right.
I'd never heard anyone talk to my grandpa that way before.
Really? Because didn't you just tell us a couple of minutes ago that the female members of your extended family would do that very thing? Did I mishear him when he was telling about previous times in his childhood where his father or grandfather would say racist things and his mother or grandmother would speak up? Am I making that up in my own memory here? Because I'm not quite sure if that last statement sounds true given what he already told us. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe it's the pepper jack. I don't know.
My huge fail turned into this incredible moment of solidarity as my mom and grandma stepped up and showed themselves to be allies.
Oh, wow. Yeah. They showed themselves to be allies to you? Or so anyway, they were braver than you were. Okay.
You never know.
Grandma and mom, my first allies. Well, whoa, wait a second. Your first allies? Well, first off, I mean, unless your mother is an absolute total bitch queen, most mothers are already your ally because they gave birth to you, they raised you, they nurtured you. And grandmas, on average, are as well already your allies. But they weren't your allies until they pushed back at grandpa when your sister was graduating college and you were the eldest in the family, which means you were probably either at or above adulthood at that point. And only then were your grandmother and mother allies to you. Not to say the amorphous demographics the grandfather was insulting in absentia, but to you, when you lack the capacity to speak up. Okay.
You never really know what will happen until you try.
You didn't try. You didn't do anything. You remained silent. Kudos to your grandmother and your mother. You failed. Thank you. This is Kyle. So he chickened out and hid behind two women. I don't know if you want to classify it like that. That sounds a little insulting when you put it that way.
As the years went on, I never heard my grandfather say anything racist in front of us ever again.
Wow, your mother and your grandmother must have had a real hold over him. And do you think he stopped having racist thoughts by any chance? Do you think fundamentally anything about him actually changed, or are you just not hearing it anymore?
And I think that's the least we can do as white people, is to put the brakes on that type of open racial hostility.
Yes, because only white people express open racial hostility. Only white people do that. It's only a white people thing. By the way, I'm here to teach you about how to fight racism. All of you white people.
I was in awe of my grandpa and loved him very much.
But he was a racist. How could you?
But the thought of holding him accountable was terrifying.
Accountable for what? I mean, he said things you didn't agree with. Okay, but he worked it sounds like he immigrated from another country to get a better life for his family. He was a union organizer, and he worked blue-collar work his entire life. It sounds like, at least from what you've told us. So, what did he have to be accountable for exactly? Bad thoughts? All right. Well, How are you going to hold him accountable for those bad thoughts?
It's scary.
Yeah.
But I learned it's better to try and do the right thing than do nothing at all.
But you didn't do anything at all. You remained silent. Your mother and your grandmother did the thing you said you would do. So you didn't do anything at all. Your grandfather at least stopped saying those things in front of the kids. So out of all four of these individuals, you, your mother, your grandmother, and your grandfather, only you did nothing.
But I learned it's better to try and do the right thing than do nothing at all, even when seemingly failing.
You just said it was an epic fail. It's not a seemingly. You failed at your task. You said you would do a thing. If a thing happened, that thing happened. You didn't do it. And it was your mother and your grandmother who stepped in to save you, effectively. I don't know. Is that him taking credit for something? Maybe. Thank you, Chicago Mike. I'm working and not listening. We'll have to watch later. Oh, and hi, Scribe. Hi, Chicago Mike. Well, funnily enough, you're looking, if you're watching this in the future, one of your neighbors, effectively, at least in his childhood, since he grew up on the south side of Chicago, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'm only assuming, I can't remember, is Chicago Mike from Chicago? I forget if that's just a name or if that's actually true. I think it may be actually true. Or he's from Chicago originally. I don't remember everybody's lore. I have a hard time remembering my own lore from time to time. But anyway, hi, Mike.
Fear can so often hold us back.
Yeah.
We can get bogged down in worry over offending others, straining relationships.
Yeah, like when you were silent in front of your grandfather.
Or become mired in guilt or resentment, or do nothing at all. As I approached my mid-20s, it became increasingly important for me to be more actively engaged in fighting racism.
Oh, okay. Now, see, I want to hear some concrete examples, because so far, aside from not confronting his grandfather, I still haven't learned what I can do to fight injustice, to face racism as a white person. So I want to know what it is he did in his adult years and what I can do to, do the right thing.
And I was lucky enough to join an organization called Anti-Racist Action, or ARA.
Anti-Racist Action, ARA. I've never heard of it.
ARA was a youth-based movement founded in Minneapolis.
Why are they wearing masks then? Founded in Minneapolis? Well, that's unexpectedly timely, given recent events. By the way, this was at least posted in early 2019. So, and it was recorded likely sometime before then. I forget if they showed the date on there. Okay, so a Minneapolis organization, Anti-Racist Action, masked individuals, punching Nazis. So promoting physical violence in order to resist racism while wearing masks. This seems awfully familiar.
By a crew of anti-racist skinheads called the Baldies.
Anti-racist skinheads. The Baldies. Okay.
And I'm sure many of you right now are thinking, did he just say anti-racist skinheads?
Yes, you did say that. But skinhead just means, if you're using it as slang, you're talking about a white supremacist. But you're not talking about white supremacists. You're talking about guys with their head shaved who aren't white supremacists. But there you go. Holy cow. Thank you, John Miller. When my grandpa said racist stuff, I ignored it and did not repeat them. When my aunt told me he was racist and tried to virtue signal me, I quit visiting her as much. This guy reminds me of her. I don't know where he's going with this so far. He really, really, really wants everybody to know that even though he's white, he's not his father, he's not his grandfather, and so on. And even though we're just getting into the story, he says he's taken proactive action to prove that he's not his father and his grandfather. Now, if he really did grow up in an environment that so overtly promoted racist thoughts and ideology and everything else, I can see him rebelling against that and wanting to dissuade it in the rest of the world. Sure, okay. I mean, if simply not holding those beliefs yourself is not enough for you and you want to do something more, okay. I don't know if joining a masked group of violence promoters is exactly the route I would take in that regard, but all right. I mean, we are getting into a methinks thou doth protest too much territory here.
What the what? What is that?
I don't know. Tell me.
Well, original skinhead culture came from Jamaican immigrants who immigrated to England. Along with them and their white working class neighbors and friends in the housing estates created this culture, and it was always multiracial from the get-go.
Skinheads were multiracial? Okay.
Under Maggie Thatcher's government in the 80s, there was a racist party called the National Front Party who gained some traction, and they more or less kind of created the phenomena of neo-Nazi skinheads, which is what most of us think of today when you hear the word skinhead.
Okay, not having any reference otherwise, I'll take his word for it. Okay. So, yeah, all right. Skinheads as I don't know what you want to call it, a nom de plume of neo-Nazis started in the 80s. All right. And this has what to do with what? Also, do you have any hair under that hat? I don't know why I'm asking.
But Minneapolis's baldies were native.
They're not skinheads, or at least all but one of them is not a skinhead. So, anti-racist skinheads. Got it.
Black, Latino, white, Asian.
So they were effectively using the word skinheads as, I mean, to use a modern term for a past situation, as clickbait. Anti-racist skinheads. Even though skinheads by themselves connotates white supremacy, they're anti-racist white supremacists, even though they're mixed race and... Okay.
And the organization they founded exploded into dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of chapters across the US, Canada, and Mexico.
Anti-racist skinhead chapters. Okay. Are you an anti-racist skinhead then? Are you a baldy? You said you were a ARA, but are you a baldy?
ARA had 4 points of unity.
Okay. Oh boy, a list. You know, I think list. I should take one of these squares and turn it into list, because there seems to be a list. There always seems to be some kind of list in these videos, and I think that's something I should add there. I'll have to figure that one out.
1.
Yes.
We go where they go.
Okay. We is the ARA. Who's the they? Is they racists or is they skinheads?
We do not allow white supremacists to have public space without a challenge.
Okay, well, if you're just talking about counter-protesting and not talking about deplatforming, okay, great.
2,
Yeah.
we do not rely on the cops or the courts to stop white supremacy. It's up to us.
Well, I guess it depends how you interpret quote-unquote white supremacy. If it's just ideas and ideology, then sure, you can fight against that with your own ideas and ideology, and that's free speech. That's great. But I sure as hell saw a fist punching a quote-unquote Nazi in the face. So are you talking about simply counterpoints, or are you talking about vigilantism?
3, non-sectarian defense of anti-racists. If you end up in court because of an action or something we are involved in, we have your back regardless of your politics or your background.
So Okay, I guess. I mean, it would depend on the individual cases, I suppose, but I don't know, blind loyalty can sometimes be a little problematic. Okay.
4,
Yeah.
we support reproductive freedom.
Whoa. So you're pro-choice. What has that got to do with racism? Please tell me.
In an era where doctors were being assassinated and organizations like Operation Rescue were creating havoc and terrorizing clinics across the country, ARA took a strongly feminist and anti-fascist position.
Feminism. Oh, wait. Feminism isn't on here anymore. That's right. Okay. I put feminism on there previously. My bad. Yeah, toxic, I think, is there for what it was before. Okay. I mean, he didn't say rape culture, he didn't say patriarchy, he said feminism, so yeah, not quite specific enough. White supremacy, though, he did mention white supremacy, so I'm going to circle that one. He hasn't said the word privilege yet, but if he doesn't by the end of this, I'm still going to circle it because that's effectively what he was implying at the beginning of this. Makes racist comment. Well, he keeps talking about white people and how white people are this and white people are that, so I'm going to circle that one. And that's it as far as I can tell for the moment.
Remember, this is youth. These are kids.
Yeah, it's kids, impressionable minds and all that kind of stuff.
I spent the next dozen or so years traveling throughout the Twin Cities Metro and the greater Midwest, tracking and confronting various chapters of the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazi organizations.
Various chapters of the Ku Klux Klan. I honestly do not know how prevalent the Ku Klux Klan is in, well, the Twin Cities area or, Minnesota in general. So maybe it was. What constitutes confronting is what I'm wondering. I mean, just counter protests? Okay. But again, that sign that you showed that your comrades were displaying seemed to imply something else.
ARA would go door to door in communities to inform them of white supremacists living on their block.
Oh my God. Okay. And how did you gather intelligence that certain individuals were white supremacists, that you could accuse them of such to their neighbors? I'm just curious what your intelligence operation consisted of.
We formed a cop watch patrol in downtown Minneapolis to combat police brutality.
Did you? Okay, well, tell me of your successes in that regard, because we're a year on from when this was recorded, and doesn't seem like it did much.
We would throw concerts to unite people around anti-racist politics, and generally we kept the neo-Nazis disorganized, hidden, and on the run.
I mean, sure, but if you drive them underground, their ideologies, their hatred, etc., just festers without any kind of outlet. I'm of the opinion that bad ideas should be given as much room to breathe as good ideas or counter ideas, because then they have the opportunity to be defeated in a public space by better ideas, rather than just going off into a corner and plotting for things to do to express themselves that may be more than words. But maybe that's just me as a proponent of the First Amendment.
So my involvement in ARA saw the end of my fear in regards to fighting racism.
Oh, so did you finally go yell at your grandfather?
Today, we see what can happen when white supremacists have room and support to organize themselves. They grow in size, they become emboldened, and become more dangerous.
Examples, please, because so far as I know, the most prominent white supremacist organization, the Ku Klux Klan, has greatly diminished over the last several decades, to the point where they're pretty much a punchline or a joke. Very few people take them seriously insofar as like their ideology. Their potential actions to express themselves, sure, that can still be a problem depending on who you're talking about. But yeah, who are you talking about?
Now, the roots of racism is the concept and invention of whiteness.
Oh, okay. Racism is an invention of whiteness. Okay.
I think it's safe to say that today we understand whiteness as a completely made up, false social construct, right?
Oh, it is? Because you were just telling us at the beginning of this talk how your skin color is the norm and how you enjoy certain benefits simply on the basis of your skin color, and how you have to talk to white people specifically because it's their responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, okay. So whiteness is a made up circumstance. Oh, okay. All right.
But it's changed over the years and fluctuated as to who is and who isn't defined as white.
Yes, I suppose that might be historically true. Are we going to talk about how the Irish were oppressed and suppressed by other white people, and now Irish people are considered white, even though they were considered subhuman at one point in history by other white people?
Italians, Greeks, Irish, and Jewish people have all been denied or admitted into this false construct of whiteness. There's no white land. There's no white food. There's no white music. Never mind actual white skin.
Oh, there's no white skin. Oh, okay, so you're not white. And your grandfather wasn't racist because, I mean, at one time the Irish were oppressed and marginalized and so on. So, you know, he lacked power. So he couldn't be racist, right? Except you were going to confront him about being racist. And, oh, but there's no white skin.
No such thing at all.
Are you being ironic or are you being serious? Because I'm mightily confused.
Yet we live in a very real and very white world, one which dominates our political institutions.
But there's no such thing as whiteness or white skin or white culture or white food or white music. So how do we inhabit that world if white as a category doesn't actually exist?
Our judicial system, our education system, and our media.
Uh-huh.
On an individual level,
Yeah.
our whiteness prevents us from being fully human.
I thought whiteness doesn't exist. But okay, so on an individual level, simply being white makes us inhuman. Okay.
Right?
I don't. Why are you asking me? You're the expert. Tell me how whiteness doesn't exist in one beat, and then tell me how whiteness makes people inhuman in the next. Why are you asking me?
It stops us from growing, learning, and living together in diverse and dynamic communities.
Well, then how the heck do you escape your own skin color, which doesn't exist because white skin doesn't exist? And
we miss out on untold relationships, experiences, and interactions.
what do you mean, we, white man?
Our whiteness segregates us from large portions of our fellow community members.
But whiteness doesn't exist, right? Why am I asking you?
As I said, I'm a lucky man.
Do you have the luck of the Irish? Oh, shit. I'm sure that's inappropriate somehow.
I dropped out of college
Oh, well, that's a good sign.
and was lucky enough to land a job at a child care center on the south side of Minneapolis.
You're taking care of children. Or you were, I suppose. I don't know what your current situation is. Okay. Did you teach them about thanks-taking as well?
The families whose children I cared for and my coworkers reflected the diversity of the Phillips neighborhood. And I had never been around that many people of color on a daily basis in all my life.
So you've got a lot of black friends? Is that what you're telling us?
On my second day on the job, a large block fell on the fingers of a 4-year-old African-American girl.
What does her race have to do with it? I'm dying to know.
And took off her fingernail.
Oh, that sucks.
When her mom arrived to bring her daughter to the doctor, I faced the righteous ire of an angry black woman for the first time in my life.
An angry black woman? Gosh, that sounds like a racial stereotype.
Because she blamed me.
Well, you were the one in charge of her child's care, so after a fashion, you were to blame.
Because it happened under my watch.
Yeah.
And even though I felt horrible about the accident, and was scared and intimidated of the mom's anger and her intense emotions, I chose to stay right there and to listen to her.
Oh, God. So stunning. So brave. You're an employee of a business that is there to take care of children, and a child gets harmed under your watch, and you stand there and take the ire from the parent involved. Gosh, that's very big of you. You know, any other white person would have told her off. Yeah, boy, oh boy. I think my thumbnail actually fits by accident.
And to acknowledge her feelings.
Oh, you acknowledged her feelings, again, as a paid employee of a service meant to take care of children. Yeah, the customer is always right. What were you going to do elsewise? What did you think was the appropriate action to take for anyone else in that situation? You're special? Come on. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat, and we all clapped. Yeah, golf clap for this guy. Wow. Very big of him to sit there and take it because it was his responsibility.
As time went on, that mom and I built a very positive relationship.
Well, I'm glad.
And I learned a valuable lesson that sometimes you just need to shut up and listen and believe.
This was not a situation of listen and believe. This was a situation where a child under your care was injured severely in relation to the child's age and the circumstances, and you were the one being paid to see that that kind of thing did not happen, and a concerned mother was irate, which had nothing to do with her skin color, by the way, but you brought it up because you think it's relevant for some reason. I mean, let me guess. I'm going to guess. Let me ask something, and I know it's a rhetorical question. If the child had been white, if the mother had been white, would you have talked back to her? Would you have told her that her fear and anger was incorrect or misplaced? I really got to wonder, because you're the one that brought up skin color. So why? Why did you bring up race, Mr. Anti-Racist?
And so that daycare center became my university.
You dropped out of college to take up time in a university at childcare. Time at a childcare supplements or replaces a college education. Got it. Thank you again, Johnny Hellcat. So he stopped, collaborated, and listened. If you got a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the beat while the DJ revolves it. Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be trusted by those families to care for their kids. And I deepened my understanding of the lives of poor and working class and single parent, Black and Native and Latino and white and immigrant families.
So race was irrelevant to your responsibility as a child care worker, but you have to list off the various races of the families that you were working for as a paid employee, because why?
Because too often our whiteness causes mistrust and fear and suspicion.
So anyone who isn't white is also inherently racist? And also, whiteness does exist? Because I could have sworn you told us a couple minutes ago that whiteness was a construct of some sort, i.e., it was false, made up, fictional.
All based off of decades and decades of unfair practices and out brutality.
Okay, so the families of the children you were taking care of were holding you responsible, or would reflexively hold you responsible for the actions of others. And you agree with that. Well, to a certain extent, that's him taking credit for something done by others in his demographic. So I'm going to circle that one as well.
Our whiteness leaves us a life not fully lived.
What?
It robs us of our humanity.
What? Okay, so you, standing on that stage, are less than human. Right now, you simply existing because of the color of your skin, which you just told us a minute ago doesn't actually exist, and because of your whiteness, which you also told us a minute ago doesn't actually exist, you are subhuman by default based on your skin color. And you belong to an anti-racist organization. Got it.
And so what our ancestors have built up, we can dismantle.
Oh, can we? Well, how do we do that? I'm waiting. I am waiting for some detailed actions I can take to fight injustice and to face racism. That's what I was promised with this talk. And I don't feel like we've gotten there yet. So tell me, what can I do in the fight?
What they have created, we can tear down.
How?
We can create change within our own communities.
How?
Our families, our churches.
How?
Our workplaces.
How?
How, you may wonder.
You're right. Oh my God. You're right. I do wonder. How? Tell me.
Well, I challenge you to begin with one-on-one conversations. Speak up when someone around you says something racist, whether it's that crazy uncle at your family party or that coworker who you like, but who maybe hasn't seen too much of the world.
Gosh, I don't know. Gosh, can I find the strength within me to speak up when I hear someone spouting off a bunch of racist nonsense? I don't know, guys. Chat, you tell me. Do you think I have it in me to say something when I hear someone spouting off something racist? I'm just not sure, guys. Thank you so much. This is Kyle. I agree. Whiteness does take away our humanity because racists like the speaker will judge me based off of my skin color and the actions of people that share the same arbitrary characteristic. Kyle, why do you have to make so much sense? Come on. And thank you, John Miller. What a nut. New term, white inferiorist. Well, here's the thing, guys. And this isn't brought up as often as I think it needs to be these days. Racism can be either the elevation or the denigration of a demographic or a person based on race, even if you belong in said demographic. So, if white people are inherently less than human, then that makes our speaker a...
Ask for clarification when someone says, those people.
Well, okay. I want to know, what do you mean when you say white people? I am dying to know.
Let them know it's not okay with you.
Well, God, I'll have to find some way to express that. I don't know how I'll do that. Man, it's such an uphill battle.
This is something we can do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's scary.
Yeah.
It's often awkward,
Yeah.
without a doubt, and it can be intimidating for sure.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But it's nowhere near as difficult as having black or brown skin in the United States of America. Nowhere near as difficult.
Oh, so anyone I see who has black or brown skin, I must assume that their life is difficult. And anyone I see with white skin, I have to assume that they are less than human. Thank you, oh wise one.
Figure out who in your life is an ally.
Gosh, I don't know. Maybe it's my friends that sort of treat me with respect, even if we disagree on certain things, because we know we're good people and we help each other out. It might be that. I don't know. Who's an ally?
Reach out to them.
Yeah.
Use each other as support and resources.
Yeah.
Educate yourself about contemporary and historic race issues.
Why? Why do I have to? Can't I just not evaluate people on the basis of race and go about my business elsewise? Can't I just do that? Because I really hate homework.
Get involved in local community issues. Organize a book club. Go to powwows.
Go to what? Powwows? What exactly, in your estimation, is a powwow? Does that have something to do with thanks taking?
Write a letter to the editor. Attend Bemidji's own monthly Truth and Reconciliation meetings if you want to listen in or participate in discussions on race right here in our community.
Okay, I don't know where this talk is taking place. I don't know where Bemidji is, but when you say Truth and Reconciliation, I immediately think of South Africa or thereabouts, where the Truth and Reconciliation process took place after apartheid was outlawed. The Truth and Reconciliation, which is the grandest experiment in restorative justice thus performed, so far as I know. Is that where we're at? Because I have no idea. But if he's promoting restorative justice alongside this anti-racism, yeah.
Last but not least, research white anti-racists and learn from their words and actions.
Well, I'm looking at one, aren't I? I mean, you were part of the Anti-Racist Association or whatever, so I'm trying to learn from your words, and I'm trying to decipher what your actions are, but it's not going so well.
My personal hero
is
John Brown.
Really? John Brown? A white man, an abolitionist, a guy who gave his life trying to fight slavery. Well, on that point, I can't disagree with you on the basis that John Brown was actually a hero, given what he did, given what he sacrificed. So, okay.
The anniversary of the Harpers Ferry raid was just 2 days ago, on the 16th.
Kieverdam says, apparently this all took place in Minnesota. Really? Because he started out by saying hello, I assume, in a different language, which I don't know. And then he talks about truth and reconciliation. Is there a truth and reconciliation process in Minnesota? Because again, and I don't know, but I mean, that phrase, that string of words, most prominently comes to my mind as the process that took place in South Africa after apartheid. So if there's a truth and reconciliation organization or otherwise in Minnesota, then I'd be curious to know what it was there for and what it was trying to do. Interesting. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. Powwows are a good place to talk in native culture / artwork crafts, and especially fry bread. I guess. So, man, I'm learning something new every day. But anyway, John Brown was your hero. Okay.
Now, most white people, in my experience, view this man as a straight lunatic.
Okay.
But in the African American community, he is universally revered.
Okay, well, if you know the details of his actions and his fervency in fighting slavery and how he employed violence in order to do so, there is an aspect of questioning his sanity given his methods. I mean, nobody's a saint. His intentions were pure, but he did hurt people in trying to get his point across. So, I mean, John Brown is, in the grand scope of history, a proponent of abolitionism and an anti-slavery advocate and so on. But he did also employ violence. So he's no Martin Luther King Jr. Anyway, John Miller, thank you so much. If you have a powwow at lunch, does that make it a powwow chow? ... Sorry. Are you really sorry, John? I don't know if I believe you. I think that's an anecdote that never really happened. If I had a bingo card for you, that's the square I would circle.
And that tells me all I need to know.
That tells you all you need to know, that because of the race of the people who are estimating that person's place in history, you know which side of the argument to fall on. Because of the race of the person saying it. Got it.
Or people like the Grimke Sisters, who were the first female abolitionists, even though they came from a slaveholding family.
I can't say I've ever heard of them, so I don't know anything about them.
Or the Reverend Robert Grates, whose home was firebombed by the Ku Klux Klan for his involvement in the civil rights movement.
Wait. The Ku Klux Klan firebombed the home of a white person? Huh. Okay. So you're saying that white people can be anti-racist even though they are replete with whiteness and advantage and everything else. Okay. Aren't they still less than human? Or did I miss something?
Or contemporary activists like educator Peggy McIntosh.
Peggy McIntosh. Mrs. Invisible Knapsack. The color of Band-Aids, Peggy McIntosh. She of the pretty much assured qualification on most of her claims about white privilege, Peggy McIntosh. Got it.
Or Minnesota's very own homegrown superstar, Lindsay Whalen, who, as captain of the Minnesota Lynx basketball team, donned a Black Lives Matter t-shirt to support her teammates in speaking out against the police shootings of Black people.
Oh, well, now that is relevant to, at least, in extension to current events, but okay, I don't know why you're not showing a picture of her, but I'll take your word for it. She did those things for those reasons. Okay, and Black Lives Matter, which, representatives thereof have also never denigrated white people as being genetically inferior or anything, who themselves have never called for the deaths of police or anything, who have never been behind any violence against people on the basis of their race or anything. Okay.
And she sat side by side with them at a press conference to address the issue.
Wow, so she showed she has some Black friends. Wow. Okay, I guess she proved her virtue.
When Lindsay Whalen was asked, why did she make that choice? Why did she stand up with her teammates? Her answer was simple.
I don't want anybody to think I'm racist.
Yet very powerful. Lindsay said, because it's important to do the right thing.
Oh.
So I ask of you to lose your fear.
Oh.
Have those difficult conversations.
Okay.
Become part of the change.
Right.
Become more fully human.
Because by default, if you don't do what I say, you're not fully human. Got it.
Miigwech and good night.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. That was our education on how to face racism and fight injustice by assessing people on the basis of their skin color, holding racial stereotypes as gospel, and fully and flatly contradicting yourself in the terminology and beliefs that you're using and implementing and teaching and such. Okay, well, that was great. Let's go over the bingo card. Yeah, I'm going to circle privilege. He never used the word, but he all but said and implied and assured to us that such exists amongst white people. Word salad, I'm also going to circle because he said a lot of things without saying anything. Let's go over the others. Plays victim. I mean, maybe if you extrapolate from his family life that he was a victim of the racism around him and so on and so forth. So sure, I'll be generous. School to prison pipeline, never brought up. Microaggressions, never brought up. Systemic. I mean, he talked about taking down the systems or institutions, etc., that were, yeah, okay, I'm going to circle systemic. Takes credit for something. Well, he took on the guilt effectively. Attempt to coin a new buzzword. I didn't hear anything new there. I'll take arguments to the contrary. Equity. He never used the word specifically. Rape culture, toxic, anecdote that probably never happened. Like I said, I'll take on the argument that never happened, his mother and grandfather speaking up in his stead, but that sounds more like something that someone wouldn't admit unless it were true if they're trying to paint themselves as the hero. Speaker should not be in the current occupation or position. If he's still a childcare worker, yeah, I'm gonna circle that one. Marginalization, marginalized. He never used the phrases, so again, I'll take arguments to the contrary. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Yeah, I'm circling that one too, because in there he qualified a whole bunch of things based on skin color. Wage gap never came up. Patriarchy never came up. Baffles or triggers me in the first 30 seconds. No, that's my call. Cultural appropriation. Well, he did talk about powwows and thanks taking. Sure, why not? Because regardless, guys, despite all of that, still don't hit a bingo. So let me get my bingo card ready here. If you have any comments or observations or arguments to the contrary or to the affirmative about any of the bingo questions or anything else about the talk, start putting them in the chat now. I'll get to them in just a moment as I prepare to put the bingo card up. Yeah, that was a interesting one, I suppose. I guess I didn't expect anything more than that, but I always go into these things hoping that I'll be surprised, hoping that maybe someone will bring up something that I hadn't thought of, or have a good argument, or have a good point, and so on. And, I don't come in here to be disappointed, honestly, but it is what happens oftentimes. So there's my bingo card, guys. If you have your own opinions, your own arguments, by all means, put them in the chat now. I'll give it 5 or 6 minutes here before I wrap up so we don't go too long. Twisted Skipster, hey, Scribelight, can I get a hello, Tori, for my daughter? Well, hello, Tori. It's nice to meet you. Your parent, because I honestly don't know whether Twisted Skipster is your mother or your father, is a longtime viewer, a very, very generous supporter of the show. Both this channel and Lords of the Night, and I really appreciate that. So I hope you're having a good day. And if you happen to listen to this, I really hope I didn't say any bad words that are going to corrupt you for the rest of your life. I would feel bad about that. So hello, Tori. Spittlebuggies, Scribelight, white splaining much? I guess I was. I'm sorry. Asian Hippie says, thanks taking. Yeah, that wasn't that a sly little insert he did? Boy, oh boy, that totally got subconscious into my mind and changed my view on things. Excuse me, Assassin of the Gray. I press X to doubt about his grandfather. Again, it's difficult for me to believe that someone who brings up an anecdote wherein they failed is inherently a falsehood. If he was glorifying himself all over the place, I might be more doubtful. Was he giving us all the context? Was he giving us all the information? I don't think so. And that's why I circled the no context thing. But as far as the actual anecdote goes, I'm willing to believe that he's telling us that he failed in his grand duty. So there you go. Graph Spree, Scribelight, why do I sense a civil war maybe on the horizon or some form of conflict? Civil war, no. protests that might lead to or portend riots and such, that's always a risk. That's always a possibility. An actual civil war, states versus states, no. Angry politics, individual occurrences in different cities and things, sure, that's always going to be there. But an actual civil war, no, I don't believe so. Assassin of the Gray Scribelight, do leftists like this want, quote, truth and reconciliation in America like Boers simply systematically murdered by criminals and insurgents waging covert genocide? Well, I mean, as we've seen on this series and several videos I've done in the past, restorative justice is a very popular notion as an alternative to our current criminal justice system and or to police. So I fully expect ideas like restorative justice or exactly like restorative justice to continue to be promoted. I don't know what he was talking about specifically because as far as I knew, I had no idea where he was when he was doing this talk. I didn't recognize the city name. He was talking in a foreign language at the beginning. I don't know what it was. I'm going to assume, given his t-shirt, given his rhetoric, maybe he was speaking a Native American language. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what truth and reconciliation means in Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe there is some kind of program or process there for that, but I'm unaware. Another monotream, he failed because he was an evil Hughite. It is virtuous for him to have failed as a youth and gotten better with age. Well, yes, I mean, he's improved, obviously. He's become more enlightened and a much better inhuman white person since he stood there and took it from a angry mother whose child was his responsibility and got their fingernail pulled out. I mean, that makes him a better human. This is Kyle. I'd wager this guy would argue that colorblindness is racist. I would not be surprised. I couldn't say for sure. I would not be surprised. John Miller, I missed the beginning. Which demographic did his grandpa disparage? He never said. He never specified what his grandfather said, what insults he used. I mean, he didn't even if he wasn't comfortable actually saying the words his grandfather said, and I can understand that. He didn't even talk about like who was his grandfather disparaging, which is really irrelevant for the sake of things. But, you know, it would have been interesting to know at least, like, what side of the coin did his father and grandfather fall on? I'm assuming it's probably against black people because that was the major focus of most of his anecdotes elsewise, but I don't know. Let's see. Anything else, guys? Assassin of the Gray never said equals never happened. He did not want to get called out by his family. You know, like I say, I am willing to extend a certain level of benefit of the doubt to the speaker because I don't have any information elsewise. And given the circumstances of the anecdote where he was the one that failed and he's propping up his mother and his grandmother, I'm going to let it pass. It didn't sound completely unreasonable to me. So I'm going to let that. If you want to fill it in on your own sheet, I'm not going to stop you, obviously. But for myself, like I say, benefit of the doubt. And let's see, Twisted Scripture. I am kind of like monkey with language, but can read. ×3. Yes, well, you know, Ranting Monkey has his issues. And speaking of which, if you'd like to hear more about Ranting Monkey's issues, or hear more from me, or hear from Satsu 2 Cents, we'll all be on Satsu 2 Cents' channel tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for Lords of the Night, where we'll go over the stories of the day, stories that you submit, talk about what we're up to on the intertubes, and as well take your questions. I think I just summarized the whole show right there, at least in summary. The content, you'll just have to see for yourself. But everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this very exciting presentation. I did not know where it was going to go, and I was surprised as to where we ended up. But maybe we learned something from the great state of Minnesota and Bemidji, or however you say that town name, which I thought was somewhere else, but apparently is a Minnesota town. I'm not a geography whiz. I'm an English major. Everyone, thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your participation. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.